Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Good to see you all. Like I said, moving forward, chapters are probably going to be just one at a time because they do get a bit long, especially going in Two Towers and the Return of the King. When they're on the shorter side, I'll do two at a time. But right now, going to be reading just chapter 5 this evening, and that will be the White Rider. Now, for those who are tuning in and missed last week, we met Treebeard and the Ents. So basically, Treebeard and the Ents are essentially not necessarily going to war, but they're taking the fight to Saruman. So basically, the Ents are marching on Isengard, and we're going to be returning to the other three. So, but at any rate, I'm not going to read your message, last toxic mail, but I will say did you gift those kick subs? Because if you didn't and you do, then I can add it to the reading rotation. But otherwise, welcome everyone. So, yeah, so like I said, we're going to be reading Chapter 5, The White Rider. And whom do you think that is? Whom do you think that is? So basically, we're leaving Merry and Pippin with the Ents, and we're returning to finding out what's going on with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. So whom do you think the White Rider is? Not Sauron. Oh. No, it's not him. Not he. It's not he. Anyway. Let's go, chaps. So, Chapter 5, The White Rider. My very bones are chilled, said Gimli, flapping his arms and stamping his feet. Day had come at last. At dawn, the companions had made such breakfast as they could. Now, in the growing light, they were getting ready to search the ground again for signs of the hobbits. And do not forget the old man, said Gimli. I should be happier if I could see the print of a boot. Why would that make you happy, said Legolas. Because an old man with feet that leaves marks might be no more than he seemed, answered the dwarf. Maybe, said the elf, but a heavy boot might leave no print here. The grass is deep and springy. That would not baffle a ranger, said Gimli. A bent blade is enough for Aragorn to read, but I do not expect him to find any traces. It was an evil phantom of Sauron that we saw last night. I'm sure of it, even under the light of morning. His eyes are looking out on us from Fangorn even now, maybe. It is likely enough, said Aragorn, yet I'm not sure. I'm thinking of the horses. You said last night, Gimli, that they were scared away, but I did not think so. Did you hear them, Legolas? Did they sound to you like beasts in terror? No, said Legolas, I heard them clearly, but for the darkness and our own fear, I should have guessed that they were beasts wild with some sudden gladness. They spoke as horses will when they meet a friend that they have long missed. So I thought, said Aragorn, but I cannot read the riddle unless they return. Come. The light is growing fast. Let us look first and guess later. We should begin here, near to our own camping grounds, searching carefully all about, and working up the slope towards the forest. To find the hobbits is our errand, whatever we may think of our visitor in the night. If they escaped by some chance, then they must have hidden in the trees, where they would have been seen. If we find nothing between here and the eaves of the wood, then we will make a last search upon the battlefield and among the ashes. But there is little hope there. The horsemen of Rohan did their work too well. For some time the companions crawled and groped upon the ground. The tree stood mournfully above them, its dry leaves now hanging limp and rattling in the chill easterly wind. Aragorn moved slowly away. He came to the ashes of the watchfire near the river bank, and then began to retrace the ground back towards the knoll where the battle had been fought. Suddenly he stooped and bent low with his face almost in the grass. Then he called to the others. They came running up. Here at last we find news, said Aragorn. He lifted up a broken leaf for them to see, a large pale leaf of golden hue, now fading and turning brown. Here is a malorn leaf of Lorien, and there are small crumbs on it, and a few more crumbs in the grass. And see, there are some pieces of cut cord lying nearby. And here's the knife that cut them, said Gimli. He stooped and drew out of a tussock, into which some heavy foot had trampled it, a short jagged blade. The haft from which it had been snapped was beside it. It was an orc weapon, he said, holding it gingerly, and looking with disgust at the carved handle. It had been shaped like a hideous head, with squinting eyes and leering mouth. "Well, here's the strangest riddle that we have yet found," exclaimed Legolas. "A bound prisoner escapes from both the orcs and from the surrounding horsemen. He then stops, while still in the open, and cuts his bonds with an orc knife. But how and why? For if his legs were tied, how did he walk? And if his arms were tied, how did he use the knife? And if neither were tied, why did he cut the cords at all? Being pleased with his skill, he then sat down and quietly ate some whey bread. Then at last, is enough to show that he was a hobbit without the Malorn leaf. After that, I suppose he turned his arms into wings and flew away singing into the trees. It should be easy to find him. We only need wings ourselves." "There was sorcery here, right enough," said Gimli. "What was that old man doing? What have you to say, Aragorn, to the reading of Legolas? Can you better it?" "Maybe I could," said Aragorn, smiling. "There are some other signs near at hand that you have not considered. I agree that the prisoner was a hobbit, and must have had either legs or hands free before he came here. I guess it was his hands, because the riddle then becomes easier, and also because, as I read the marks, he was carried to this point by an orc. Blood was spilled here, a few paces away, orc blood. There are deep prints of hooves all about this spot, and signs that a heavy thing was dragged away. The orc was slain by horsemen, and later his body was hauled to the fire. But the hobbit was not seen. He was not in the open, for it was night, and he still had his elven cloak. He was exhausted and hungry, and it is not to be wondered at that. When he had cut his bonds with the knife of his fallen enemy, he rested and ate a little before he crept away. But it is a comfort to know that he had some lembas in his pocket, even though he ran away without gear or pack, that perhaps is like a hobbit. I say he, though I hope and guess that both Merry and Pippin were here together. There is, however, nothing to show that for certain." Welcome, everyone. "And how do you suppose that either of our friends came to have a hand free?" asked Gimli. "I do not know how it happened," answered Aragorn, "nor do I know why an orc was carrying them away. Not to help them to escape, we may be sure. Nay, rather I think that I now begin to understand a matter that was puzzled me from the beginning. Why, when Boromir had fallen, were the orcs content with the capture of Merry and Pippin? They did not seek out the rest of us, nor attack our camp, but instead they went with all speed towards Isengard. Did they suppose they had captured the ring-bearer and his faithful comrade? I think not. The masters would not dare to give such plain orders to orcs, even if they knew so much themselves. They would not speak openly to them of the ring. They are not trusty servants. But I think the orcs had been commanded to capture hobbits, alive at all costs. An attempt was made to slip out with the precious prisoners before the battle. Treachery, perhaps, likely enough with such folk. Some large and bold orc may have been trying to escape with the prize alone, for his own ends. There, that is my tale. Others might be devised, but on this we may count in any case. One at least of our friends escaped. It is our task to find him and help him before we return to Rohan. We must not be daunted by Fangorn, since need drove him into that dark place. I do not know which daunts me more, Fangorn or the thought of the long road through Rohan on foot," said Gimli. "Then let us go to the forest," said Aragorn. It was not long before Aragorn found fresh signs. At one point near the bank of the Entwash, he came upon footprints. Hobbit prints, but too light for much to be made of them. Then again, beneath the bole of a great tree on the very edge of the wood, more prints were discovered. The earth was bare and dry, and did not reveal much. One hobbit at least stood here for a while and looked back, and then he turned away into the forest, said Aragorn. "Then we must go in too," said Gimli. "But I do not like the look of this Fangorn, and we were warned against it. I wish the chase had led anywhere else." "I do not think the wood feels evil, whatever tales may say," said Legolas. He stood under the eaves of the forest, stooping forward, as if he were listening and peering with wide eyes into the shadows. "No, it is not evil, or what evil is in it is far away. I catch only the faintest echoes of dark places where the hearts of the trees are black. There is no malice near us, but there is watchfulness and anger." "Well, it is no cause to be angry with me," said Gimli. "I have done it no harm." "That is just as well," said Legolas. "But nonetheless it has suffered harm. There is something happening inside, or going to happen. Do you not feel the tenseness? It takes my breath." "I feel the air is stuffy," said the dwarf. "This wood is lighter than Mirkwood, but it is musty and shabby." "It is old, very old," said the elf. "So old that almost I feel young again, as if I have not felt since I journeyed with you children. It is old and full of memory. I could have been happy here, if I had come in days of peace." "I dare say you could," snorted Gimli. You are a wood elf anyway, though elves of any kind are strange folk. Yet you comfort me. Where you go, I will go. But keep your bow ready to hand, and I will keep my axe loose in my belt. Not for use on trees," he added hastily, looking up at the tree under which they stood. "I do not wish to meet that old man at unawares without an argument ready at hand, that is all. Let us go." With that, the three hunters plunged into the forest of Fangorn. Legolas and Gimli left the tracking to Aragorn. There was little for him to see. The floor of the forest was dry and covered with a drift of leaves. By guessing that the fugitives would stay near the water, he returned often to the banks of the stream. So was it he came upon the place where Merry and Pippin had drunk and bathed their feet. There plain for all to see were the footprints of two hobbits, one somewhat smaller than the other. "This is good tidings," said Aragorn, "yet the marks are 2 days old, and it seems that at this point the hobbits left the waterside." "Then what shall we do now?" said Gimli. "We cannot pursue them through the whole fastness of Fangorn. We have come ill-supplied. If we do not find them soon, we shall be of no use to them, except to sit down beside them and show our friendship by starving together." "If that is indeed all we can do, then we must do that," said Aragorn. "Let us go on." They came at length to the steep, abrupt end of Treebeard's hill, and looked up at the rock wall with its rough steps leading to the high shelf. Gleams of sun were striking through the hurrying clouds, and the forest now looked less gray and drear. "Let us go up and look about us," said Legolas. "I still feel my breath short. I should like to taste a freer air for a while." Their companions climbed up. Aragorn came last, moving slowly. He was scanning the steps and ledges closely. "I am almost sure that the hobbits have been up here," he said. But there are other marks, very strange marks, which I do not understand. I wonder if we can see anything from this ledge, which will help us to guess which way they went next." He stood up and looked about, but he saw nothing that was of any use. The shelf faced southward and eastward, but only on the east was the view open. There he could see the heads of the trees descending in ranks towards the plain from which they had come. "We have journeyed a long way round," said Legolas. "We could have all came here safe together if we had left the great river on the second or third day and struck west. Few can foresee whither their road will lead them, till they come to its end." "We did not wish to come to Fangorn," said Gimli. "Yet here we are, nicely caught in the net," said Legolas. "Look." "Look at what?" said Gimli. "There in the trees." "Where? I have not elf eyes." "Hush! Speak more softly. Look," said Legolas, pointing. "Down in the wood, back in the way that we just come. It is he. Cannot you see him, passing from tree to tree?" I see now," hissed Gimli. "Look, Aragorn, did I not warn you? There's the old man, all in dirty gray rags. That is why I could not see him at first." Aragorn looked and beheld a bent figure moving slowly. It was not far away. It looked like an old beggar man, walking wearily, leaning on a rough staff. His head was bowed, and he did not look towards them. In other lands, they would have greeted him with kind words, but now they stood silent, each feeling a strange expectancy. Something was approaching that held a hidden power, or menace. Gimli gazed with wide eyes for a while, as step by step the figure drew nearer. Then suddenly, unable to contain himself longer, he burst out. "Your bow, Legolas! Bend it! Get ready! It is Sauron! Do not let him speak, or put a spell upon us! Shoot first!" So I got to face the cover. Legolas took his bow and bent it, slowly as if some other will resisted him. He held an arrow loosely in his hand, but did not fit it to the string. Aragorn stood silent. His face was watchful and intent. "Why are you waiting? What is the matter with you?" said Gimli in a hissing whisper. "Legolas is right," said Aragorn quietly. "We may not shoot an old man so, at unawares and unchallenged. Whatever fear or doubt be on us. Watch and wait." At that moment, the old man quickened his pace and came with surprising speed to the foot of the rock wall. Then suddenly he looked up, while they stood motionless looking down. There was no sound. They could not see his face. He was hooded, and above the hood he wore a wide-brimmed hat, so that all his features were overshadowed, except for the end of his nose and his gray beard. Yet it seemed to Aragorn that he caught the gleam of eyes keen and bright from within the shadow of the hooded brows. At last the old man broke the silence. "Well met indeed, my friends," he said in a soft voice. "I wish to speak to you. Will you come down, or shall I come up?" Without waiting for an answer, he began to climb. "Now," cried Gimli, "stop him, Legolas." "Did I not say that I wish to speak to you?" said the old man. "Put away that bow, Master Elf." The bow and arrow fell from Legolas's hands, and his arms hung loose at his sides. And you, Master Dwarf, pray take your hand from your axe haft, till I am up. You will not need such arguments. Gimli started and then stood still as stone, staring while the old man sprang up the rough steps as nimbly as a goat. All weariness seemed to have left him. As he stepped up onto the shelf, there was a gleam, too brief for certainty, a quick glint of white, as if some garment shrouded by the gray rags had been for an instant revealed. The intake of Gimli's breath could be heard as loud as hiss in the silence. Well met, I say again, said the old man, coming towards them. When he was a few feet away, he stood, stooping over his staff, with his head thrust forward, peering at them from under his hood. And what may you be doing in these parts? An elf, a man, and a dwarf, all clad in elvish fashion? No doubt there's a tale worth hearing behind it all. Such things are not often seen here. You speak as one that knows Fangorn well, said Aragorn. Is that so? Not well, said the old man. That would be the study of many lives. But I come here now and again. Might we know your name and then hear what it is that you have to say to us, said Aragorn? The morning passes. We have an errand that will not wait. I can't answer that for certain, my kill, but he is a spirit, basically, and technically he did die. But he was sent back. Right? He was sent back because his job was not done, and because of what's happening with Saruman. What's happening with Saruman? He's come back on par with Saruman. Right? So it's not like he changes colors necessarily. It's more like an indication of the powers imbued upon him. Okay, so hold on. Where are they? As for what I wish to say, I have said it. What may you be doing, and what tale can you tell of yourselves? As for my name, he broke off, laughing long and softly. Aragorn felt a shudder run through him at the sound. A strange cold thrill, and yet it was not fear or terror that he felt. Rather, it was like a sudden bite of keen air, or the slap of a cold rain that wakes an uneasy sleeper. My name, said the old man. Have you not guessed it already? You have heard it before, I think. Yes, you have heard it before. But come now, what is of your tale? The three companions stood silent and made no answer. There are some who would begin to doubt whether your errand is fit to tell, said the old man. Happily, I know something of it. You are tracking the footsteps of two young hobbits, I believe. Yes, hobbits. Don't stare as if you have never heard the strange name before. You have, and so have I. Well, they climbed up here the day before yesterday. They met someone they did not expect. Does that comfort you? And now you would like to know where they were taken. Well, maybe I can give you some news about that. But why are we standing? Your errand, you see, is no longer as urgent as you thought. Let's sit down and be more at ease. The old man turned away and went towards a heap of fallen stones and rock at the foot of the cliff behind. Immediately, as if a spell had been removed, the others relaxed and stirred. Gimli's hand went at once to his axe shaft. Aragorn drew his sword. Legolas picked up his bow. The old man took no notice, but stooped and sat himself on a low, flat stone. Then his great cloak drew apart, and they saw, beyond doubt, that he was clothed beneath all in white. Saruman, cried Gimli, springing towards him with axe in hand. Speak! Tell us where you have hidden our friends. What have you done with them? Speak, or I will make a dent in your hat that even a wizard will find it hard to deal with. The old man was too quick for him. He sprang to his feet and leaped to the top of the large rock. There he stood, grown suddenly tall, towering above them. His hood and his gray rags were flung away. His white garments shone. He lifted up his staff, and Gimli's axe leaped from his grasp and fell ringing on the ground. The sword of Aragorn, stiffened in his motionless hand, blazed with sudden fire. Legolas gave a great shout and shot an arrow high into the air. It vanished in a flash of flame. Mithrandir, he cried. Mithrandir. Well met, I say to you again, Legolas, said the old man. Mithrandir is another name Gandalf goes by. Gandalf goes by Mithrandir, Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf Stormcrow, Gandalf Greyham, and now Gandalf the White. But he goes by several names. So for those who do not know, that's another name Gandalf is known by. They all gazed at him. His hair was white as snow in the sunshine, and gleaming white was his robe. The eyes under his deep brows were bright, piercing as the rays of the sun. Power was in his hand. Between wonder, joy, and fear, they stood and found no words to say. At last, Aragorn stirred. "Gandalf," he said, "beyond all hope, you returned to us in our need. What veil was over my sight?" "Gandalf." Gimli said nothing, but sank to his knees, shading his eyes. "Gandalf," the old man repeated, as if recalling from an old memory a long-disused word. "Yes, that was the name. I was Gandalf." He stepped down from the rock and, picking up his grey cloak, wrapped it about him. It seemed as if the sun had been shining, but now it was hid in cloud again. No, he does not go by Grand Elf. I don't know why that theory, why that ever became a theory. But now it was hidden in the cloud again. "Yes, you may still call me Gandalf," he said, and the voice was the voice of their old friend and guide. "Get up, my good friend Gimli. No blame to you and no harm done to me. Indeed, my friends, none of you have any weapon that could hurt me. Be merry, we meet again. As a turn of the tide, the great storm is coming, and the tide is turned." He laid his hand on Gimli's head, and the dwarf looked up, and laughed suddenly. "Gandalf," he said, "you are all in white." "Yes, I am white now," said Gandalf. "Indeed, I am Saruman, one might almost say. Saruman as he should have been. But come now, tell me of yourselves. I have passed through fire and deep water since we parted. I have forgotten much as I thought I knew, and learned again much as I had forgotten. I can see many things far off, but many things that are close at hand I cannot see. Tell me of yourselves." "What do you wish to know?" said Aragorn. "All that has happened since we parted on the bridge would be a long tale. Will you not first give us news of the hobbits? Did you find them, and are they safe?" "No, I did not find them," said Gandalf. "There was a darkness over the valleys of the Emyn and I did not know of their captivity until the eagle told me." "The eagle," said Legolas. "I have seen an eagle high and far off. The last time was 4 days ago, above the Emyn." "Yes," said Gandalf. "That was Gwaihir, the Wind Lord, who rescued me from Orthanc. I sent him before me to watch the river and gather tidings. His sight is keen, but he cannot see all that passes under hill and tree. Some things he has seen, and others I have seen myself. The ring now has passed beyond my help, or the help of any of the company that set out from Rivendell. Very nearly it was revealed to the enemy, but it escaped. I had some part in that, for I sat in a high place and I strove with the dark tower and the shadow passed. Then I was weary, very weary, and I walked along in dark thoughts." "Then you know about Frodo," said Gimli. "How do things go with him?" "I cannot say. He was saved from great peril, but many lie before him still. He resolved to go alone to Mordor, and he set out. That is all that I can say." "Not alone," said Legolas. "We think that Sam went with him." "Did he?" said Gandalf, and there was a gleam in his eye and a smile on his face. "Did he indeed? It is news to me, yet it does not surprise me." "Good. Very good. You lighten my heart. You must tell me more. Now sit by me and tell me the tale of your journey." The companion sat on the ground at his feet, and Aragorn took up the tale. For a long while Gandalf said nothing, and he asked no questions. His hands were spread upon his knees, and his eyes were closed. At last, when Aragorn spoke of the death of Boromir and of his last journey upon the Great River, the old man sighed. "You have not said all that you know or guess, Aragorn, my friend," he said quietly. "Poor Boromir. I could not see what happened to him. It was a sore trial for such a man, a warrior and a lord of men. Galadriel told me that he was in peril, but he escaped in the end. I am glad. It was not in vain that the young hobbits came with us, if only for Boromir's sake. But that is not the only part they have to play. They are brought to Fangorn, and their coming was like the falling of small stones and the stars of an avalanche in the mountains. Even as we talk here, I hear the first rumblings. Saruman had best not be caught away from home when the dam bursts." "In one thing you have not changed, dear friend," said Aragorn. "You still speak in riddles." "What? In riddles?" said Gandalf. "No, for I'm talking aloud to myself. A habit of the old. They choose the wisest person present to speak to. The long explanation needed by the young are wearying. He laughed, but the sound now seemed warm and kindly as a gleam of sunshine. You know what? I'm going to say that when I start talking to myself, chats. That I'm choosing the wisest person present to speak to. I'd say feel free to use that as well. If someone comments on that, if you're talking to yourselves. I'm no longer young, even in the reckoning of men of the ancient houses, said Aragorn. Will you not open your mind more clearly to me? What then shall I say, said Gandalf, and paused for a while in thought. This in brief is how I see things at the moment, if you wish to have a piece of my mind as plain as possible. The enemy, of course, has long known that the ring is abroad, and that it is borne by a hobbit. He knows now the number of our company that had set out from Rivendell, and the kind of each of us. But he does not yet perceive our purpose clearly. He supposes that we were all going to Minas Tirith, for that is what he would himself have done in our place. And according to his wisdom, it would have been a heavy stroke against his power. Indeed, he is in great fear, not knowing what mighty one may suddenly appear, wielding the ring, and assailing him with war, seeking to cast him down and take his place. That we should wish to cast him down and have no one in his place is not a thought that occurs to his mind. That we should try to destroy the ring itself has not yet entered his darkest dream, in which no doubt you will see our good fortune and our hope. For imagining war, he has let loose war, believing that he has no time to waste. For he that strikes the first blow, if he strikes it hard enough, may need to strike no more, so that the forces that he has long been preparing, he is now setting in motion sooner than he intended. Wise fool. For if he had used all his power to guard Mordor so that none could enter, and bent all his guile to the hunting of the ring, then indeed hope would have faded. Neither ring nor bearer could have long have eluded him. But now his eye gazes abroad rather than near at home, and mostly he looks towards Minas Tirith. Very soon now his strength will fall upon it like a storm. For already he knows that the messengers he sent to waylay the company have failed again. They have not found the ring, neither have they brought away any hobbits as hostages. Had they done even so much as that, it would have been a heavy blow to us, and it might have been fatal. But let us not darken our hearts by imagining the trial of their gentle loyalty in the Dark Tower, for the enemy has failed, so far, thanks to Saruman. Then is not Saruman a traitor, said Gimli? Oh, indeed, yes, said Gandalf, doubly. And is not that strange? Nothing that we have endured of late has seemed so grievous as the treason of Isengard. Even reckoned as a lord and captain, Saruman has grown very strong. He threatens the men of Rohan and draws off their help from Minas Tirith, even as the main blow is approaching from the east. Yet a treacherous weapon is even a danger to the hand. Saruman also had a mind to capture the ring for himself, or at least to snare some hobbits for his evil purposes. So between them, our enemies have contrived only to bring Merry and Pippin with marvelous speed and in the nick of time to Fangorn, where otherwise they would never have come at all. Also, they have filled themselves with new doubts that disturb their plans. No tidings of the battle will come to Mordor, thanks to the horsemen of Rohan, but the Dark Lord knows that two hobbits... taken in the Emyn Wheel and borne away towards Isengard against the will of his own servants. He now has Isengard to fear as well as Minas Tirith. If Minas Tirith falls, it will go ill with Saruman. It is a pity that our friends lie in between, said Gimli. If no land divided Isengard and Mordor, then they could fight while we watched and waited. The victor would emerge stronger than either, and free from doubt, said Gandalf. But Isengard cannot fight Mordor unless Saruman first obtains the ring. That he will never do now. He does not yet know his peril. There is much that he does not know. He was so eager to lay his hands on his prey that he could not wait at home, and he came forth to meet and to spy on his messengers. But he came too late, for once, and the battle was over and beyond his help before he reached these parts. He did not remain here long. I look into his mind and I see his doubts. He has no woodcraft. He believes that the horsemen slew and burned all upon the field of battle. He does not know whether the orcs were bringing any prisoners or not, and he does not know of the quarrel between the servants and the orcs of Mordor, nor does he know of the winged messenger. The winged messenger, cried Legolas. I shot at him with the bow of Gladriel above Sarn Gabir, and I felled him from the sky. He filled us all with fear. What new terror is this? One that you cannot slay with arrows, said Gandalf. You only slew his steed. It was a good deed, but the rider was soon horsed again, for he was a Nazgul, one of the 9, who rode now upon winged steeds. Soon their terror will overshadow their armies of our friends, cutting off the sun. But they have not yet been allowed to cross the river, and Saruman does not know of this new shape in which the ringwraiths have been clad. His thought is ever on the ring. Was it present in the battle? Was it found? What if Theoden, Lord of the Mark, should come by it and learn of its power? That is a danger that he sees, and he has fled back to Isengard to double and treble his assault on Rohan. And all the same, there's another danger close at hand, which he does not see, busy with his fiery thoughts. He has forgotten Treebeard. Now you speak to yourself again, said Aragorn with a smile. Treebeard is not known to me, and I have guessed part of Saruman's double treachery, yet I do not see in what way the coming of 2 hobbits to Fangorn has served, save to give us a long and fruitless chase. Wait a minute, cried Gimli. There is another thing that I should like to know first. Was it you, Gandalf, or Saruman that we saw last night? You certainly did not see me, answered Gandalf, therefore I must guess that you saw Saruman. Evidently, we look so much alike that your desire to make an incurable dent in my hat must be excused. Good, good, cried Gimli. I am glad it was not you. Gandalf laughed again. Yes, my good dwarf, he said. It is a comfort not to be mistaken at all points. Do I not know it only too well? But of course, I never blamed you for your welcome of me. How could I do so, who have so often counseled my friends to suspect even their own hands when dealing with the enemy? Bless you, Gimli, son of Gloin. Maybe you will see us both together one day and judge between us. But the hobbits, Legolas broke in. We have come forward to seek them, and you seem to know where they are. Where are they now? With Treebeard and the Ents, said Gandalf. The Ents, exclaimed Aragorn. Then there is truth in the old legends about the dwellers in the deep forest and the giant shepherds of the trees. Are there still Ents in the world? I thought they were only a memory of ancient days. Indeed, if they were ever more than a legend of Rohan. A legend of Rohan? Cried Legolas. Nay, every elf in Wilderland has sung songs of the old Onodream and their long sorrow. Yet even among us, they are only a memory. If I were to meet one still walking in this world, then indeed I should feel young again. But Treebeard, that is only a rendering of Fangorn into the common speech. Yet you seem to speak of a person. Who is this Treebeard? And I gotta take a swig of water real fast, chat. Alright. Sorry. Sorry, allergies. Now you're asking much, said Gandalf. The little that I know of his long, slow story would make a tale for which we have no time now. Treebeard is Fangorn, the guardian of the forest. He is the oldest of the Ents, the oldest living thing that still walks beneath the sun upon this Middle Earth. I hope indeed, Legolas, that you may yet meet him. Merry and Pippin have been fortunate. They met him here, even where we sit. For he came here 2 days ago and bore them away to his dwelling far off by the roots of the mountains. He often comes here, especially when his mind is uneasy, and rumors of the world outside trouble him. I saw him 4 days ago striding among the trees. And I think he saw me, for he paused. But I did not speak, for I was heavy with thought, and weary after my struggle with the Eye of Mordor. And he did not speak either, nor call my name. Perhaps he also thought that you were Saruman, said Gimli, but you speak of him as if he was a friend. I thought Fangorn was dangerous. How far would be in the film by this point? Not really far in the film. Not really far in the film because, well, yeah, I'd say probably about like a third or so through the film. I'd say about a third or so. Roughly. I wouldn't necessarily say halfway, probably about a third or so, because the films are long. If you include the extended edition, it would be like, before the halfway point, basically. So we haven't even met Theoden yet, or anything. So we even, at this point, we haven't even met Theoden. So, a little bit, about, I'd say a third. And funny that you should ask that, because today my one brother texted, that, yeah, he knows it's going to require some planning, but like he asked siblings if we'd be up for a Lord of the Rings marathon, and it's going to be the extended editions. So I'll be able to tell you definitively then, but I can't say definitively now. And a little bit of trivia of the film for those who do not know. The scene where Aragorn kicks the helmet. Yeah, proper viewing. Yeah, the scene where Aragorn kicks the helmet. Viggo Mortensen actually broke his toe doing that. So when he screams, he's actually screaming in pain. So he basically did that scene with a broken toe, or finished that scene with a broken toe. Before they enter Fangorn Forest. Anyway, moving on. Dangerous, cried Gandalf. And so am I, very dangerous. More dangerous than anything you will ever meet, unless you are brought alive before the seat of the Dark Lord. And Aragorn is dangerous, and Legolas is dangerous. You are beset with dangers, Gimli, son of Glóin. But you are dangerous yourself in your own fashion. Certainly the forest of Fangorn is perilous, not least to those that are too ready with their axes. And Fangorn himself, he is perilous too. Yet he is wise and kindly nonetheless. Now his long, slow wrath is brimming over, and all the forest is filled with it. The coming of the hobbits and the tidings that brought have spilled it. It will soon be running like a flood, but its tide is turned against Saruman and the axes of Isengard. A thing is about to happen which has not happened since the Elder Days. The Ents are going to wake up and find that they are strong. What will they do? Asked Legolas in astonishment. I do not know, said Gandalf. I do not think they know themselves. I wonder. He fell silent, his head bowed in thought. Oh yeah, Soul Assassin. The others looked at him. Oh my god. Okay. The others looked at him. A gleam of sun through fleeting clouds fell on his hands, which lay now upturned on his lap. They seemed to be filled with light as a cup with water. At last he looked up and gazed straight at the sun. The morning is wearing away, he said. Soon we must go. Do we go to find our friends and to see Treebeard? Asked Aragorn. No, said Gandalf. That is not the road that you must take. I have spoken words of hope, but only of hope. Hope is not victory. War is upon us and all our friends, a war in which only the use of the ring could give us surety of victory. It fills me with great sorrow and great fear, for much shall be destroyed, and all may be lost. I am Gandalf, Gandalf the White, but black is mightier still. He rose and gazed out eastward, shading his eyes as if he saw things far away that none of them could see. Then he shook his head. No, he said in a soft voice, it has gone beyond our reach. Of that at least let us be glad. We can no longer be tempted to use the ring. We must go down to face a peril near despair, yet that deadly peril is removed. He turned. Come, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, he said. Do not regret your choice in the Valley of the Imminent Wheel, nor call it a vain pursuit. You chose amid doubts the path that seemed right. The choice was just, and it has been rewarded. For so we have met in time, who otherwise might have met too late. But the quest of your companions is over. Your next journey is marked by your given word. You must go to Edoras and seek out Theoden in this hall. For you are needed. The light of Andúril must now be uncovered in the battle for which it is so long waited. There is war in Rohan, and worse evil. It goes ill with Theoden. Then we are not to see the merry young hobbits again, said Legolas. I did not say so, said Gandalf. Who knows? Have patience. Go where you must go and hope. To Edoras. I go thither also. It is a long way for a man to walk, young or old, said Aragorn. I fear the battle will be over long ere I come there. We shall see. We shall see, said Gandalf. Will you come now with me? Yes, we will set out together, said Aragorn, but I do not doubt that you will come there before me if you wish. He rose and looked long at Gandalf. The others gazed at them in silence as they stood there facing one another. The grey figure of the man, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, was tall and stern as stone, his hand upon his hilt of his sword. He looked as if some king, out of the midst of the sea, had stepped upon the shores of lesser men. Before him stooped the old figure, white, shining now as if with some light kindled within, bent, laden with years, but holding a power beyond the strength of kings. Do I not say truly, Gandalf, said Aragorn at last, that you could go whithersoever you wished quicker than I? And this I also say, you are our captain and our banner. The Dark Lord has 9, but we have 1, mightier than they. the White Rider. He has passed through the fire and the abyss, and they shall fear him. We will go where he leads." "Yes, together we will follow you," said Legolas. "But first it would ease my heart, Gandalf, to hear what befell you in Moria. Will you not tell us? Cannot say, even to tell your friends how you were delivered?" "I have stayed already too long," answered Gandalf. "Time is short. But if there were a year to spend, I would not tell you all." "Then tell us what you will, and time allows," said Gimli. "Come, Gandalf, tell us how you fared with the Balrog." "Name him not," said Gandalf. And for a moment he seemed that a cloud of pain passed over his face, and he sat silent, looking old as death. "Long time I fell," he said at last, slowly, as if thinking back with difficulty. "Long I fell, and he fell with me. His fire was about me. I was burned. Then we plunged into the deep water, and all was dark. Cold it was as the tide of death. Almost it froze my heart. Deep is the abyss that is spanned by Durin's bridge, and none has measured it," said Gimli. Yet it has a bottom, beyond light and knowledge," said Gandalf. "Thither I came at last, to the uttermost foundations of stone. He was with me still. His fire was quenched, but now he was a thing of slime, stronger than a strangling snake. We fought far under the living earth, where time is not counted. Ever he clutched me, and ever I hewed him, till at last he fled into dark tunnels. They were not made by Durin's folk, Gimli, son of Gloin. Far, far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day. In that despair, my enemy was my only hope, and I pursued him, clutching at his heel. Thus he brought me back at last to the secret ways of Khazad-dûm. Too well he knew them all. Ever up, now he went, until he came to the endless stair. Long has that been lost," said Gimli. "Many have said that it was never made, save in legend, while others say it was destroyed." "It was made, and it had not been destroyed," said Gandalf. "From the lowest dungeon to the highest peak it climbed, ascending in unbroken spiral in many thousand steps, until it issued at last in Durin's tower, carved in the living rock of Ziraxigil, the pinnacle of the Silver Ten. There upon Calabdil was a lonely window in the snow, and before it lay a narrow space, a dizzy eyrie above the mists of the world. The sun shone fiercely there, but all below was wrapped in cloud. Out he sprang, and even as I came behind, he burst into new flame. There was none to see, or perhaps in after ages songs would still be sung of the Battle of the Peak." Suddenly Gandalf laughed. "But what would they say in song?" "Those that looked upon from afar thought that the mountain was crowned with storm. Thunder they heard, and lightning, they said, smote upon Calabdil, and leaped back, broken into tongues of fire. Is not that enough? A great smoke rose about us, vapor and steam. Ice fell like rain. I threw down my enemy, and he fell from the high place and broke the mountainside, where he smote it in his ruin. Then darkness took me, and I strayed out of thought and time, and I wandered far on roads that I will not tell. Naked, I was sent back, for a brief time, until my task is done, and naked I lay upon the mountain top. The tower behind was crumbled into dust, the window gone. The ruined stair was choked with burned and broken stone. I was alone, forgotten, without escape upon the hard horn of the world. There I lay staring upward while the stars wheeled over, and each day was long as the life age of the earth. Faint to my ears came the gathered rumor of all lands, the springing and the dying, the song and the weeping, and the slow everlasting groan of overburdened stone. And so at the last, Gwaihir, the Wind Lord, found me again, and he took me up and bore me away. Ever am I fated to be your burden, friend at need, I said. A burden you have been, he answered, but not now, but not so now. Light as a swan's feather in my claw you are. The sun shines through you. Indeed, I do not think you need me any more. Were I to let you fall, you would float upon the wind. Hello, Ads. Nice to see you. Do not let me fall, I gasped, for I felt I felt life in me again. Bear me to Lothlorien. That indeed is the command of the Lady Galadriel, who sent me to look for you, he answered. Thus it was that I came into Caras-Galadhon, and found you, but lately gone. I tarried there in the ageless time of that land, where days bring healing, not decay. Healing I found, and I was clothed in white. Counsel I gave, and counsel took. Thence, by strange roads, I came, and messages I bring to some of you. To Aragorn I was bidden to say this. Where now are the Dunedain, Elisar? Why Do thy kinsfolk wander afar? Near is the hour when the lost should come forth, and the great company ride from the north. But dark is the path appointed for thee. The dead watch the road that leads to the sea. To Legolas she sent this word. Legolas, Greenleaf, long under tree. In joy thou hast lived, beware of the sea. If thou hearest the cry of the gull on the shore, thy heart shall then rest in the forest no more. Gandalf fell silent and shut his eyes. Then she sent me no message, said Gimli and bent his head. Dark are her words, said Legolas, and little do they mean to those that receive them. That is no comfort, said Gimli. What then, said Legolas, would you have her speak openly to you of your death? Yes, if she had naught else to say. What is that, said Gandalf, opening his eyes. Yes, I think I can guess what her words may mean. Your pardon, Gimli. I was pondering the messages once again, but indeed she sent words to you, neither dark nor sad. To Gimli, son of Gloin, she said, give his lady's greeting. Lockbearer, wherever thou goest, my thought goes with thee. But have a care to lay thine axe to the right tree. In happy hour you've returned to us, Gandalf, cried the dwarf, capering as he sung loudly in the strange dwarf tongue. Come, come, he shouted, swinging his axe. Since Gandalf's head is now sacred, let us find one that is right to cleave. That will not be far to seek, said Gandalf, rising from his seat. Come, we have spent all the time that is allowed to a meeting of parted friends. Now there is need of haste. He wrapped himself again in his old tattered cloak and led the way. Following him, they descended quickly from the high shelf and made their way back through the forest, down the bank of the Entwash. They spoke no more words until they stood again upon the grass beyond the eaves of Fangorn. There was no sign of their horses to be seen. The Hunt for Gollum movie should not be made. At all. It is not needed. Of course, AI would have to be used, because it's been... Well, the movies were filmed actually in 1999 or 2000. So if you go just from when they were filmed, and not from when they were released, they're over 25 years old. Almost 30. So yeah, AI would have to be used. No shit, sorry. But it's a cash grab for not even 2.5 pages long of text. It's not needed. Just because there's more to adapt in Tolkien's Middle Earth does not mean it needs to be adapted. Alright. That's just my two cents on the matter. He wrapped himself again in his old tattered cloak and led the way. Following him, they descended quickly from the high shelf and made their way back through the forest, down the bank of the Entwash. They spoke no more words until they stood again upon the grass beyond the eaves of Fangorn. There was no sign of their horses to be seen. They have not returned, said Legolas. It will be a weary walk. I shall not walk. Time presses, said Gandalf. And lifting up his head, he gave a long whistle. So clear and piercing was the note that the others stood amazed to hear such a sound come from these old bearded lips. 3 times he whistled, and then faint and far off it seemed to them that they heard the whinny of a horse borne from the plains upon which from the eastern wind. They waited wondering. Before long there came the sound of hooves, at first hardly more than a tremor of the ground perceptible only to Aragorn, as he lay upon the grass, and growing steadily louder and clearer to a quick beat. There is more than one horse coming, said Aragorn. Certainly, said Gandalf. We are too great a burden for one. Oh, thank you, Master Salamanca. Appreciate it. There are 3, said Legolas, gazing out over the plain. See how they run? There is Hasufel, and there is my friend Erod beside him. But there is another that strides ahead, a very great horse. I have not seen his like before. Nor will you again, said Gandalf. That is Shadowfax. He is the chief of the Miras, lords of horses. And not even Theoden, king of Rohan, has ever looked on better. Does he not shine like silver and run as smoothly as a swift stream? He has come for me, the horse of the White Rider. We are going to battle together. Even as the old wizard spoke, the great horse came striding up the slope towards them. His coat was glistening and his mane flowing in the wind of his speed. The 2 others followed, now far behind. As soon as Shadowfax saw Gandalf, he checked his pace and whinnied loudly. Then, trotting gently forward, he stooped his proud head and nuzzled his great nostrils against the old man's neck. Gandalf caressed him. "It is a long way from Rivendell, my friend," he said, "but you are wise and swift and come at need. Far let us ride now together, and part not in this world again." Soon the other horses came up and stood quietly by, as if waiting orders. "We go at once to Maduseld, the hall of your master Theoden," said Gandalf, addressing them gravely. They bowed their heads. "Time presses, so with your leave, my friends, we will ride. We beg you to use all the speed that you can. Hasufel shall bear Aragorn, and Elrod Legolas. I will set Gimli before me, and by his leave Shadowfax shall bear us both. We will wait now only to drink a little." "Now I understand a part of last night's riddle," said Legolas as he sprang lightly upon Elrod's back. "Whether they fled at first in fear or not, our horses met Shadowfax, their chieftain, and greeted him with joy. Did you know that he was at hand, Gandalf?" "Yes, I knew," said the wizard. "I bent my thought upon him, bidding him to make haste. For yesterday he was far away in the south of this land. Swiftly may he bear me back again." Gandalf spoke now to Shadowfax. And the horse set off a good pace, yet not beyond the measure of the others. After a little while he turned suddenly, and choosing a place where the banks were lower, he waded the river, and then led them way due south into a flat land, treeless and wide. The wind went like gray waves through the endless miles of grass. There was no sign of road or track, but Shadowfax did not stay or falter. "He is steering a straight course now for the halls of Theoden under the slopes of the White Mountains," said Gandalf. "It will be quicker so. The ground is firmer in the Eastamnet, where the chief northward track lies, and across the river, but Shadowfax knows the way through every fen and hollow." For many hours they rode on through the meads and riverlands. Often the grass was so high that it reached above the knees of the riders, and their steeds seemed to be swimming in green sea. They came upon many hidden pools, and broad acres of sedge waving above wet and treacherous bogs. But Shadowfax found the way, and the other horses followed in his swath. Slowly the sun fell from the sky, down into the west. Looking out over the great plain, far away, the riders saw it for a moment, like a red fire sinking into the grass. Low upon the edge of Sight's shoulders of the mountains glinted red upon either side. A smoke seemed to rise up and darken the sun's disk to the hue of blood, as if it had kindled the grass as it passed down under this rim of earth. There lies the gap of Rohan," said Gandalf. "It is now almost due west of us. That way lies Isengard." "I see a great smoke," said Legolas. "What may that be?" "Battle and war," said Gandalf. "Ride on." And that is chapter 5, ladies and gentlemen. The White Rider. So, I did see people guess Gandalf eventually after guessing Sauron earlier in the chat. But yes, the White Rider was Gandalf. It goes by quick, but it was like almost 20 pages. All right. So basically, Gandalf has returned. Gandalf, I don't think too many people know this, right? Because when they see the Balrog, they think of a physical being that Gandalf was fighting. But a Balrog is actually the same as Gandalf in a way, because both are Maiar. They're both spirits. So the only one of the company who would have ever been able to stand against the Balrog in that moment, it would have been Gandalf. As tragic as it was for those who did not read the books prior to seeing Fellowship of the Ring, and reading Two Towers and so forth, he really was the only one who stood against the Balrog. I don't think he would have wanted to, but he was the only one who could, because the Balrog is a spirit. And is one of 7. There were actually 7, I believe, that were on Middle-earth at a time. So, I'm not trying to throw either Lethal or Mazza under the bus when I say this, but during one of their Monster Hunter videos, they mentioned the Balrog being a cool addition to Monster Hunter, that creature or something like that. And I'm like, that's a spirit. That's not actually a monster. So it's you'd be fighting a spirit. That wouldn't work. I mean, you could have a Balrog inspired creature, But the Balrog himself, no, he couldn't, because there's no way any entity would, like, physical being would be able to fight it. Like, normal person would be able to fight it. No, it's not in Monster Hunter. They were talking about how cool it would be, like, to have something like that in Monster Hunter. And I was like, no, that would not work. You could have something like it, that looks like it in Monster Hunter, but, like Spirit in Monster Hunter form, basically. So that form the Balrog takes, it's like a physical appearance, but in itself is a spirit. Same with Sauron. Sauron is a spirit as well. Sauron is a Maiar. He is not human. Alright? He took that physical shape, basically. He himself is a spirit, like Saruman, like Gandalf, like Radagast, like the two blue wizards, and so forth. Alright? Because he's not a physical being, which is part of the reason why he was able to pour his malice and his soul into this ring. Alright? And still be alive, despite him being defeated at the last alliance of elves and men, which marked the end of the Second Age and the beginning of the Third Age. So yeah, so a little bit of lore information for you all. And at some point, I would like to make lore videos for Tolkien's Middle-earth, basically. Not just Lord of the Rings, but like Middle-earth. So I say Middle-earth. So when I say, like, middle, so I don't just say, like, so when I talk about Tolkien, I don't just say Lord of the Rings fan. When I say Middle-earth fans, I mean, like, those who have read the books, those who know the mythos, those who know the history that Tolkien built. Because he basically created a language and then built a story around it. Yeah, Melkor was Valar, but Sauron was a Maiar, basically. Sauron was a spirit. So basically you have Iluvatar, God, the Valar, alright, Maiar, basically. Talking Tolkien, yeah. So basically I would like, at some point, it's going to be like down the road. I'm hoping to start in the next few months or so, because like it's going to, like, it's not gonna be able to do it right away, because I'm going to be helping my mom with renovations and so forth. So basically, once the renovations officially start and, like, the big cleaning up happens, the streaming is going to be sporadic at best. And I'm going to try to make it like video essay style. So it's basically going to be a combination of, like, me talking and, like, pictures and so forth, basically, of what I can find. To give you a perspective, is it down here? Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not exactly going to use this book, because I will have others, basically, but, I'll be going from, like, stuff like this. History and mythology that inspired Tolkien's world. I have other history books over there. And so forth. So I'm going to be, like, trying to do it more like video essay style, which means I'm going to have to not only find a video editing software, and download it, but also become an expert in it, so that way once I'm doing the video essays, basically I can, like, smoothly record them and put them out on my channel. So that is down the road, but I will be, doing those lore videos where I'll be talking about locations, races, the Iluvatar, the Valar, basically, like, the Grey Havens and so forth. When I say locations, I mean, like, Numenor, Gondor, Rohan, the Brownlands, the Shire, the Old Forest, Eregion, and so forth, basically. Because Mordor, because each location has its own history. Then the races. So I'm guessing, like, not too many people know that there are actually 3 types of hobbits. But there are actually 3 types of hobbits in Middle-earth lore. And so forth. And the difference between Uruk-hai and orcs, even though Uruk means orc, there is a difference with Uruk-hai and orcs. Yeah. So there's a lot. When I say there's a lot, I am not being facetious. I'm not minimizing it or trying. Yeah. So they only likely know the film version, and even if they did read the books, like the Lord of the Rings books, even then, probably wouldn't think that there's, like, one type of hobbit, because Tolkien does only really go into the Shire hobbits, in the Hobbits, and Lord of the Rings. He does touch on one other type of Hobbit with a certain character, but it's not really going into depth. So most people don't know of the other two types of hobbits in Middle Earth history. So yeah, I'm saying like this man, whom I think is like one of the greatest writers ever to have lived, created a language first, and then decided that language needed a history. So instead of writing the story first, like coming up with the story idea first and then the languages, no, he created the languages first, and then decided I have to create a mythology for the United Kingdom, for Britain, basically for England. And he created a story around those languages he created. So yeah, he is epic. Anyway, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow on this channel, on the YouTube channel, will be the top 10 lists I do with Steve Kenobi, and that will be our personal top 10 lists of 2000 films. So, like I said, it's our personal top 10 list, so the movies themselves might not necessarily be objectively good, but they are subjectively good to us. And yes, he's a genius and an original, yeah. Like, he's one of the greatest writers to ever have lived. And I would love to have been the person that he wrote, because when he wrote The Hobbit, when he started writing The Hobbit, he actually started writing the first line of The Hobbit on the back of an exam he was grading. You know, because he's Professor Tolkien, right? So he's Professor Tolkien. So he actually started writing The Hobbit on the back of an exam he was grading. So to be the person who got that exam back and they see the words, "In a hole there lived a hobbit," maybe a lot of X-Men. Thank you, ads. But yeah, we're talking, personal top 10 list of 2000, and then Thursday I plan to be live on my Kick and Twitch, going back to Doom: The Dark Ages. I can't even remember where I left off because it's been so long since I had to get a new PC. And then Friday, I'm not necessarily certain when I'm going to be able to start, but because I did not stream yesterday, I'm planning on doing a longer stream Friday, a longer gaming stream Friday, evening, my time. I think so, yeah, but to be the person, I'd like to be the person that got that exam back, and like, what's this? In a hole there lived a hobbit? What's that? Yeah, I'm like that they found it basically, but like I would like to just to be that person who got that exam back. And I was like, what is this? Pretty much. But anyway, chat. Yes, this is my Twitch. I'll be dual streaming here. And if someone could drop my Kick link again, I'd appreciate it. But I'll be live on Twitch and Kick Thursday and Friday. I'm not sure about Saturday. I'm not sure necessarily about Saturday, only because I leave Saturdays kind of open. And this is my Kick. I leave Saturdays kind of open, so we'll see. And then Talk Nerdy to Us will be on my channel, this YouTube channel, next Sunday, about 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And I'll remind Steph. So again, appreciate you all. Sure, either Independence Day, Watch Party, or Jaws. Either one. Like, both I consider July 4th movies. Well, join the Discord, Mazda Salamanca. You can, you can be my date during the watch party. How about that? But either Independence Day or Jaws. Technically, it would be the day after Independence Day, but either one would work. Maybe I'll do a double watch party. We'll see. But either one of those two movies, both of them I consider July 4th movies. But anyway, chat, have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all tomorrow, about 8 p.m. Eastern, on my channel. That's 8 Eastern, United States. I'm not sure where time zone you're in, wherever, elsewhere in the world. But I hope to see you then. So take care, stay safe, and peace.